And today on the campaign trail, the Progressive People's Party has been very busy. They've been able to submit their written statements to the courts and the challenge to their flag bearers' disqualification from the presidential race. The aspirant himself, Dr. Papakwesi Indom, is on the ground campaigning in the Central Region. We'll bring you details of that shortly. But we can now go to get some more details on the news conference today where the running mate, Bridget Jogbenuku, has been addressing the media. Ernest Kojomenu covered that for us. He joins me in the studio. Ernest, first of all, let's go through the issues they raised today. We know that there's been a matter of the disqualification issues in court. What did they talk on today in that regard? So today has to do with the what they say is an injustice by the IOCO. You know, IOCO, we were told by a report, a Daily Graphic report, that they have invited the PPP to its headquarters to answer for the 1.7 million they use in payment of their filing fees, both for the presidential and the parliamentary election, candidate. And so the IOCO wants to know the source of funding of the PPP. That is the news conference they held today to address. That was the issue they addressed today at the news conference. And Bridget Jogbenuku, who is the vice presidential candidate, running mate because they have not yet, running mate of the PPP, addressed the news conference because Papakwesi Indom is still campaigning. So first of all, they're saying that they know they're going to be in the elections, and so to all their supporters, to all their parliamentary aspirants, don't stop campaigning, just like the flag bearer is doing. Just hit the road and do the campaign. Now, on the substantive issue of the source of funding, which has been raised by the IOCO, they are surprised that the IOCO is actually doing this because, according to them, the Political Parties Act, which says that they should submit their audited accounts after December 31 of every year, they have complied to the law, and they did say, you may recall they did that in May this year. They submitted their audited accounts to the Electoral Commission, and so for that of this year, they have up to June 2017 to submit their accounts, and so they do not know why the IOCO is raising such questions in the first place. And so they say they're accusing the IOCO of engaging in selective injustice, and they accuse the incumbent, the NDC government, of using state institutions to disgrace Papakwesi Indom or to thwart their efforts, as it were. Okay, let's hear from Bridget then.
We wish to state that Dr. Indom is a law-abiding citizen who will not do anything to jeopardize the peace and stability of this country. As a party, we support Betty Williams' saying that non-violence is not the weapon of the weak, it is the weapon of the strong. We woke up today to be greeted with a ridiculous front-page publication in the Daily Graphic that the Economic and Organized Crime Office, IOCO, has given our flag bearer, Dr. Papakwesi Indom, up to Wednesday, October 26, 2016, to explain the source of the 1.7 million Ghana cedis that was paid as filing fees to the Electoral Commission on behalf of the party's parliamentary candidates. We are extremely disappointed in this Machiavellian tactics of a state-sponsored institution to attempt to disgrace Dr. Indom in such an unfortunate manner. The PPP is a law-abiding political party, and we are always guided by the Political Parties Law Act 574, Section 1, which says the political party shall, within 6 months from 31st December of each year, file with the Commission returns in the form specified by the Commission, indicating I, the state of its accounts, II, the sources of its funds, III, membership dues paid, IV, contributions or donations in cash or kind, V, the properties of the party and time of acquisition, and VI, such other particulars as the Commission may reasonably require, and B, audited accounts of the party for the year. This is 6 months from 31st December each year. The party has complied with this law and submitted the necessary documents as required by law since 20th May 2016, of which the EC acknowledged receipt. We will submit our next source of funding and any other documentation required to the EC by June 2017 as required by law. We are surprised at the behavior of IOCO, an institution which is supposed to be, and I quote, a specialized agency to monitor and investigate economic and organized crime, and on the authority of the Attorney General to prosecute these offenses to recover the proceeds of crime and provide for related matters. Being used, unquote, and this institution is being used for intimidating political opponents. Where is the fairness in this act by Iyoko? What crime has Dr. Papa Kwesi Ndom committed for him to be crucified in such a manner? If Iyoko wants Ghanaians to take them seriously, why are they not investigating all the other presidential candidates who have managed to pay their filing fees well in excess of what the PPP has paid? Why the deliberate application of selective injustice? When the EC made the mistake of issuing a receipt of 1,700 Ghana cedis to the party rather than the 1.7 million Ghana cedis paid as filing fees, did this not warrant Iyoko's investigation? Has Iyoko now realized that they have a job to do?
Well, we have been trying to get a response from Iyoko on this matter. We're yet to get that, but if we do, we'll bring that to you here on the show. But speaking of the Progressive People's Party, the flag bearer, Dr. Papa Kwesi Ndom, is busy in the Kumfi in the central region, continuing his campaign tour. We can get more details now from Richard Kojonya, who is following him. Richard, good afternoon to you. What's Dr. Ndom talking about in Kumfi today?
Well, Doctor is done with the Kumfi, is done with the Jumako, and we just finished with Isikuma Odobin Brako, and this being the last constituency he's visiting today, and so the campaign has come to an end. What he's basically been telling the people is the transformation and the change agenda, that they need improvements in their lives and in their standard of living. Especially, he's been speaking to the farmers and the fisher folks in the central region. According to him, he has assembled some plans that are going to work on outboard motors specifically to inject some kind of capital into the local industry in and around the central region. And so they are not going to import outboard motors from anywhere, but they are assembling them, and they would make sure that they work to perfection. According to him, in addition to that one, too, for the farmers, he's also seen that they are interested in rice farming, and so he's also assembled some plants that will work on the rice, and he says that it is a rice milling plant, and so he's going to also take care of the farmers in order for them to also improve upon their lives. But he wants the people to use the 2016 elections as a tool to improve upon their lives. So he's done basically with the three constituencies he set out to do today, and he's also been touching on the Iyoko stuff, where he said that, well, he does not even know why Iyoko is on him, because there are a lot of...
Sorry, Richard, do I have you on the line? Richard?
Yes, Francis, I'm here.
Yes, you're saying something about what Ndom had to say on the Iyoko matter.
And he said that this one is a calculated attempt of Iyoko, and he does not know the people behind Iyoko that will make them do that, because he says that there are a lot of political parties that are in Ghana, and why would they single him, his party, and that of Ayarga? They will bring them up for scrutiny. According to him, he's a private businessman, and he's capable of paying this one and a lot more. So he does not even, and he says that they are just drawing attention onto themselves. They want people to know that they also exist, but he says that it is much ado about nothing. So basically, that is what he's been saying about the Iyoko stuff.
Okay, thank you, Richard, for that update on Dr. Ndom campaigning in the Central Region, plus his own response to what's been happening today with Iyoko, asking for him to provide details of his sourcing of funding. Now, this week, the two major political parties, the governing NDC and the opposition MPP, will be seeking to make inroads in their opponents' strongholds as the campaign towards December 7 begins to heat up. As you may know, the president last week concluded his campaign of the Volta region, where the MPP presidential candidate Nana Akufo-Addo is also beginning his 5-day tour starting today. Let's get some details now from Ivy Strategy. She's actually following Nana Akufo-Addo. We'll try and get her back online since we've lost her momentarily. We'll get you an update on what's been happening there. Also, we know that the president is in the Eastern region, continuing his campaign tour there, trying to send his messages across. Remember that the Eastern region is the home region of Nana Akufo-Addo, so it's beginning to look as though wherever your stronghold is, we'll get there, try and consolidate some more votes, and see what happens on December 7th. We'll bring you more details on that and more after this short break. Stay with us. You're welcome back to the Pulse on the Joy News channel on Multi TV. From politics, let's talk about something else that happened in Parliament that may have flown under the radar but needs a bit of attention. Now, we know that members of Ghana's Parliament have banned the portrayal of nudity or pornographic materials in Ghanaian movies. Now, this follows the passage of the Development and Classification of Film Bill 2016 after it was read for the third time in the House last week, Friday. But we're looking at the broader context of what this bill will seek to do to improve movie making in the country today. And who else to speak to us on this but a filmmaker himself, Sokit Safo, joins us now in the studio. Thank you, sir, for coming today.
Thank you.
How have you been? How's business these days?
Well, it's down.
Down?
Yeah, let me say that personally, I have not been producing for some time now. Likewise, a whole lot of producers who were producing back in the days. Or you see now, let me say, newcomers who don't know the risk in the business in now, terms of so they invest and they all come back to where we are.
But I'm sure you know about the Development and Classification of Film Bill 2016. Yeah. Now, what does this passage of this bill mean for you as a filmmaker?
Well, I would say it's good news. We fought for this for almost 20 years, over 20 years now. Yeah. So I would say that thank God that we've gotten to this point. But you see, there is something around this thing. This is not the first time this bill has gone through this level. During the time of President Kufuor, it went through the same third reading, and it was left with the president to sign. And it took members of the, is it GIBA or so, the independent broadcasters, they petitioned the president that there are certain aspects or some aspects of the bill that will affect their business. So they petitioned the president to take the thing back. So it was sent back to Parliament. And according to the rules, it has to go through
some number of readings
again. And that has taken us all these years. So it's not that it has not been through this level before.
Okay. Now, as you may be aware, the new act seeks to provide a legal framework for the production, regulation, nurturing, and development of the Ghanaian film industry. Now, one thing that I pick up from here is the issue of the portrayal of nudity in movies.
Yeah. What is new?
Well, nudity is showing certain parts of your body that ordinarily you wouldn't on a regular day. Now, what does this seek to do in your industry? Well, what would this now do for the work you do?
Let me say that I saw the headline, and I happened to participate in the final discussion or the drafting of the bill at Novotel. I happened to participate in it. I was invited by the members of Parliament who are then met to go through it. Yeah, and the headline is different from the content.
What is in it?
Yeah.
So what does it speak to in terms of
nothing new?
The classification.
It's the same thing as it used to be. That is what we still have here.
Okay.
You understand? The same thing. So the headline is making it look like it's something new.
But is it not? But is it not true that it's seeking to ban the portrayal of nudity and also do some classification?
That is how it used to be before this one.
Yes.
Already, nudity was not allowed. It's not allowed. Pornography is not something that. Fine. In the past, the law allows pornography, and now it says no. It's the same thing. The classification, the rules and regulations is the same thing we have there.
Okay, because
we didn't change anything.
I get it, but some will say that the movies we've seen in Ghana being produced, some have had very, very explicit scenes in there.
But that is why you have the classification.
Yes,
you understand. For adults, he can choose what he wants to see and how he wants to see it. You can't show certain rated movies on television, which is open to free on air. But if I have the money and I want to buy it and watch in the comfort or my private, let me say, home, then I can do it.
Do you think this is long overdue?
Yes, yes, yes.
Why was it difficult to get this done in the first place?
Because we've not pushed it enough as filmmakers, and in the past, let me say, people in the creative arts, and for that matter, filmmakers have always been shying away from politics. But today, as we speak, thanks to people like us, we are talking politics, and politicians are taking us serious to the point that we can even be invited to draft manifestos and things like that. You understand? Okay. Let's say GPRTU. Before government even increased the fuel prices because of their participation in decision making,
now things
they are
are
even
to
consulted.
Okay.
Now that is what we have now.
Okay, let me now pick the thoughts of David Donto. He's well known. In fact, some even call him a legend in his own right when it comes to acting in Ghana. Thank you, sir, for joining us here on the program.
Thank you, and thank you to your listeners as well.
Okay, now we're talking about the development and classification of Film Bill 2016. It was read for the third time in Parliament last week, Friday. It's now being passed into law. What does this mean for you as someone who's been in this Ghanaian movie industry for a very long time?
That's fantastic. That is all what the industry has been waiting for all these past decades. Because as an industry, certainly need to have a direction, a policy direction, and also some form of regulation, just so that we can really keep up standards and meet the expectations of the international community, because film is a universal language for all. So it's good that it has happened. Very, very good. Except that I don't know into detail a lot of the provisions in the law.
Okay. Now, just to read some of them to you, just so you get to understand what's in it. Section 19.4, which classifies movies as universal for all categories of persons, subsection B, C, D, respectively, rated PG 12, 15, and 18, prevents children from entering film exhibition centers. Also, Section 23, clauses 1, 2, and 3, respectively, stresses that a person shall not attend a film exhibition which that person is not qualified to attend by virtue of the classification of the film under Section 19.4. Now, for many who have looked at this bill, they've talked broadly about what they see on our screens today, be it movies shown on TV channels or for what people go and buy on the open market for movies which do not have classification. What now happens in terms of implementation to ensure that, yes, this is a good body of law, but it's working to good effect?
Yes, those things are very necessary since we have two major categories of film viewers, children and adults.
Yeah.
On television, there are times that you show adult films, and there are times that you show children's films, because children should not be exposed to adult films that may have obscene language, that may have violence, that may have so many things that children are not, supposed to be watching. And so that is why the classification comes in. However, now we see a lot of films or things that are shown on our television, irrespective of what time of day, whether meant for children or adults, they show it. Because I had a friend who had relocated to Ghana, working with one of the mining companies. Came to the house one afternoon to take something and came to see his kids watching something on Ghana television that was strictly adult. And the very next week, he had to send the kids back to Ireland because he said it will never happen in Ireland, where they would show things meant strictly for adults on television during the day where kids are available. In America, they show nightcap, which is almost pornography, but they will always show it after midnight. If you showed it as a television station before midnight, you'll be unplugged. But, because there were no laws, regarding these things, we flatter them left, right, center. But now that the law is in place, it has to be enforced.
So,
and also,
in terms of, sorry, Mr. Donto, not to cut you, in terms of its implementation, who should be leading that charge when it comes to movies that are shown on television at proper times with a proper classification?
Once the law has been, made, the legal instruments that will enable us, implement, provisions of this law will demand that we set up certain task forces, we set up certain agencies that check some of these things. We do not have them as we speak, but as things that are important to our development, it will be necessary for us to look at setting up agencies and organizations and institutions that will see to enforce, some of these things.
Okay. Let me also pick the thoughts of Secretary Safu. He's with us in the studio. You were part of the committee that looked into this. What now happens in terms of implementation? Who does the work in ensuring that these fine provisions, as we're seeing in the document, are actually done?
There's supposed to be a board that will see to it, you understand? And there's supposed to be an ally after the passage. Okay. Now, in terms of seeing to it that what goes on television is monitored, there's the classification committee that will see to it. Now, I think in the old law, the classification board was not given the powers to monitor what goes on TV. But with this new one, there is some window for them to do that.
And what would be the sanctions if anyone is found not going by this?
Well, we have to get the document that we can. But you see, these arguments we can place it in its proper context if we have the old law and the new law.
Okay.
Then you will see that nothing has changed in terms of classification. It's the same thing.
Okay.
It's the same thing. Just that the window for television is what has been added. You understand? But it's the same thing. It used to be the same. The pornography was not allowed in the past. Not that in the past we can show pornography.
But you were still seeing it.
Well, because this thing was, even as we speak, the classification board, if you don't give them the necessary tools to work with, they can't do anything.
So you're saying that even though this law has come, if the body mandated to implement is not empowered,
it's not empowered. They don't have the logistics. They have nothing.
The means to do it.
It takes filmmakers to even organize rates for unclassified films. The board sees and they are not even give allowance and all that. So it used to be a toothless bulldog, and that is how it has been.
And you think this one may become as such if the body mandated to monitor
it depends, does not do that? It depends on the government in power. If it takes film serious, it will give it the necessary tools.
If it doesn't,
well, then back to square one.
Okay, Mr. Donto, let me end with you. You gave an example of an instance you had for a friend who got home and saw people watching something not too good on television. For you, someone who's been long in this industry, what do you want to see now that this law has come into fruition?
You mean what were we going to do if this law had not been passed?
I'm saying that, what do you want to see done now that we have this law that has been passed?
It's important that we actually see film too as part of our security apparatus, because now countries seek political and economic control of geopolitical space in the world using film. And so film actually partly has something to do with security. And this is why I was advocating for setting up of an agency or an organization that will be charged with the enforcement, certain aspects of this law. Because if we don't do that, it will penetrate, the social fabric to a point where certain aspects of our security become corrupted. Now that people win wars with films, a whole lot of things can happen. And these days that we have this cyber war, we really have to be very, very, very careful in seeking to enforce aspects of this law that will keep out certain things that could jeopardize our security. And therefore, it's important that we see film as an aspect of our security operation, so that we don't give ourselves that open and vulnerable to anything that comes from outside.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us, David Donto, this afternoon. Pleasure as always.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right, that's veteran actor David Donto. Secretary, I would want to end with you, but does this, I'm sure we are not done with this conversation. We'll have some time to delve into other aspects of the document proper, looking at the old and the new one. Sure. But you said you had a point to make on something.
Yeah, I was talking about the tools to use or giving them logistics. I remember when Anas released the last video.
Yeah.
I confronted Anas, not because I was against the screening of the video, but per the law, it's supposed to go for classification. As per the law, then, you understand? I went to the classification office and even informed them about Anas screening it. The officer told me, you see, my brother, we don't have logistics, we can't do anything, blah, 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 though the law is there. The same thing can happen to this law if we don't support it.
And
You understand?
when you say support, you mean what exactly?
Logistics. They don't have even police personnel to even help them, money or finance to even go around and all that. It takes filmmakers like us to even put money together and go on rates on films that has not been classified on the streets.
Okay. Clearly, a box that we may have to reopen sometime later and broaden the conversation.
And the problem is not pornography, please.
Okay.
Violence is more dangerous than pornography.
But both are all not good that we need to deal with. You
yes,
agree,
but
yes?
don't let us limit to nudity.
Why? What's the problem with that?
Because violence that we show on our screens is more dangerous, especially during the times that we show them when our kids are back from school and there's no adult at home.
That element also needs to be looked at. Okay. And was that taken care of in this provision?
Sure. As for the law, it's there. We've
there.
made sure that we put it there. But it takes the government, which is serious with these things, to also...
To implement.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming, Secrets. Pleasure as always. So that's for that corner. We will definitely spend some more time and delve more into the development and classification of Film Bill 2016 here on the show. This is just one part we've looked at today. We'll spend some more time on this later on here on the program. But still ahead, we'll look at what the IGP has been talking about today. Yes, 43 days to go to the elections, but they have some concerns on what we need to do to prepare ahead of the December polls. Details after the break. Stay with us. Now, as the election draws near, there is one institution that many expect to be gearing up to the task of ensuring that we have peaceful elections come December 7. While the IGP has been busy with some Muslim clerics today as we prepare for the polls, he's been speaking to them today.
The Zongo boys, yes, I was very quiet on that because that's a perception, just like the police. There's a lot of perception about it, which is not good. And the Zongo ones, people have that perception. Ultimately, they feel maybe your boys are brave and daring and are ready to take risks. Maybe that's why they are exploiting them. You know that they are violent by nature. So I would like you, as I said, to let them channel their youth and their exuberance and their strength and their daringness and all these things to ventures that will benefit not only them but the society for us to develop and then move forward. Because it's only peace that can ensure economic development. That is nothing that can. So it's not allow themselves to be used. And then on that day, it's likely that motorbikes will not be used, as we've been doing previously. And when we talk about motorbikes, most of them are the who own most of the motorbikes. So people feel that there's a ready force, organized, that can be ready to be used. Not because maybe they are violent, but maybe because they are always organized, and then we can easily exploit them. When you go to Zongo, I've lived in Zongo for a time, Zongo by myself. So I understand the language. I mean, they are already in groups well organized, and that's why people are exploiting them. So tell them not to allow themselves to use that, but they should channel their energies and then organization to other fruitful ventures. And so anybody to, because the person who is using you, when he comes by, doesn't know you. So he must take you from that. Then talk about the snatch of ballot boxes that can bring mayhem. But why should you even attempt to go and snatch a ballot box? You're going to say, why don't you want to come out whole? Or with your, because I flat said they will say, you have to have some bumps on your face. What that is illegal. So why should you attempt to snatch the ballot box? If you snatch it, then if you live by violence or you draw the sword, dies by it. So better you don't make that attempt at all. Because nobody will contend that on that day. As you said, the police station, everybody are going to open his eyes to see what is happening. But what beats my imagination is that why should go to a police station with arms and cutlasses and weapons and that is. I don't think that's what will win the election for you. Because there was a government in power until 19 years or 20 years before it changed power to go for. I've been in power for more than 15 years. But the election, that was one. They will go to the election, police station with bows and arrows. They will go there with machine guns. What happened? It was a peaceful transition. So what shows that this someone have been there for a term cannot be peacefully seated without violence. I don't see the way of thinking of some of us. And we as policemen are not thinking that way at all of others. We are going to ensure that the police stations are clean and safe as depicted by the laws of this country. Some meters away, there should be nobody. I'm going to ensure that within that perimeter, nobody is there. And how we are going to do it, you leave it to us. It's going to be a strategic deployment.
So staying with the arms of government and what they're doing to ensure that we have a credible election. With a little over 40 days to go, concerns have been raised by civil society groups about tension in the country ahead of the polls. Executive Secretary of the Institute of Democratic Governance, Emmanuel Akwete, stressed this point at a special forum organized by the Chief Justice under the theme Judiciary and Election 2016.
We've seen the Supreme Court in action, and I think there is a pertinent issue that we must address. All the data from Afrobarometer studies and recently Mo Ibrahim shows that the majority, a growing number of Ghanaians are very dissatisfied with the system. We've gone around the country, all 10 regions. We get a constant refrain from people in forums we organize. They say the system is not working for us. Then on social media, where you have a more educated and vibrant youth, they want a system change. They think the system is not working. They want revolution, they want something radical that will solve their problems because they don't see solutions to the problems. So we cannot take it for granted that everybody is in love with the system. And indeed, in rural communities, people are even asking that they want to see a change of the winner takes all, because now it's associated with almost everything violent or threatening. And there was great opportunity to do this. The constitutional review process and then the constitutional review implementation committee. But it got nowhere. Even if it was Kwasari's petition and the time it took that addressed it, made it a bit late. Frankly, there has been no consensus in Parliament on how to move constitutional amendment forward. And you cannot amend the constitution without consensus. So we've ended up in a situation where at this stage, we're told by the parliamentarians themselves, if there's no political agreement on continuing with the process, it might as well end with this election. Then it's for a new government to start it. Whether it likes it, then it will be discretionary.
Now, more than 3,000 children in Galamsey mines in Talensi and more children are falling out of school in hazardous jobs, even though general school enrollment figures have gone up across the country. The situation is affecting the quality of education in the country. Now, Journalist Justice Bedo has spent months following the story of child miners who are falling out of school into illegal mining in the Upper East region in a new documentary titled Thunder Miners. Here are excerpts of the documentary that will air tonight here on this channel.
Tears of a mother remembering a deep sense of loss. This is Ayimpok. Just 3 days before I met her, her 14-year-old son Abu fell into a gold mine pit, hit his head to a rock and died instantly, more than 500 meters underground. Her son was one of hundreds of child miners digging for gold in mine sites locally known as Galamsey in the Talensi district.
The last time he came home was a Saturday. When he was approaching home, he mentioned my name from afar. I said my son is home. It was a happy time. I had missed him, so we talked. He even gave me 5 cedis when he was going back into the mines. He even gave the little children in the house money. All these are the reasons why I miss my son.
So onda edun walala oh ni bira sultanda petawa si ka bira ya tom la walala bo mi zang dem yang dem lo ansi ire ma ya zila la haram bi mi ma edum yang si
At the cemetery where he was buried, the boys who knew him in the Galamsey site have come to see his grave and pay homage. Such deaths are common in many Galamsey sites across Ghana, but as several of these sites are run illegally, many fatalities go unreported for fear of a government clampdown.
This is what we do wearing.
Back in the Galamsey site where Abu died, many children are still hard at work. Many have fallen out of school, like 17-year-old Francis Asisandan.
I left school when I was in class 3. There was no money. If I had the opportunity, I would stay in school. Sometimes I miss the things I used to learn when I was in school.
In this region alone, more than 20,000 children of school-going age are out of the classroom, and some of them could be found in places like this one, dangerous mine sites, risking it all in search of gold. Here, there are only 2 rules: get rich quick or die trying.
More on that documentary, 6:30 p.m. tonight. Don't miss it here on the Joy News channel on Multi TV. Now, over the years, many Ghanaians have raised concerns about the frustrating traffic situation in the country. Many have suggested that an effective railway line could be the solution to this canker. But our railways and trains have for the past 3 decades been in a very deplorable state. What has happened to the once buoyant transport sector? Wanda Hagan finds out more.
This is the sad, deplorable state of a once vibrant rail system. Ghana's railway system began operations over 100 years ago. In the 1980s, the train, locally called the Keteke, was a major contributing factor to the development of the country, accounting for the movement of about 90% of the country's bulk export commodities. The country at the time had several efficient railway lines along the eastern, western, and central corridors. At the time, the railway had a track network of about 950 kilometers made up of the eastern, western, and the central lines. Most of these lines today have been closed and are not operational, leaving the total track network of the current railway at less than 100 kilometers. Some decades down the line, the story of Ghana's railway sector has become an ugly one. Today, the country has only 4 functioning trains and several kilometers of destroyed railway lines. 3 of these trains convey passengers and goods, and the remaining one is used for the haulage of manganese from Takoradi to Nsuta. The Nsawam and Tema trains are the only passenger trains operating now under extreme difficult conditions.
So it's been about 5 minutes since I joined this train, which is Accra bound from Nsawam. Originally, authorities tell me the train is supposed to have moved from one station to the other in 30 minutes, at most 40 minutes. It's however not the case, because this train has been traveling from Nsawam for almost 2 hours and is still yet to arrive at its destination. Now, this can be attributed to the deplorable state of the rails. The train itself is not in a good status. There are indications of rust all over, and this coach, for instance, is supposed to have taken a number of 112 people, but as it stands, it's taking 160 people, this including luggage. Some people are standing in the train because its capacity is full.
Trains are supposed to be a safe means of transport, if not the safest. But some of the country's trains have become death traps. Some of its coaches consistently derail in the course of the journey, putting the lives of its passengers at risk. There have been some recent cases of derailment that left some passengers hurt, creating fear and panic.
What I say, we are quite before say we free bed domi, we free domi quite. What time that me see from Abuom? Nan nitino a cock nitino a cock a frozen barrier. Na near war Abuom, net train assassin a cheek at Yakoka a typha. Young quantimo, nan nitino a call. Near say a cheek, your court typha a dangerous.
My fruit and I have said, yeah, crap. As you say, oh, break, you know. I am one. What me, maybe I'm messing over Consana Sanachi, as I am by fire. Then you have the one I'm the one you say, Quan Maya. The Cano on the Memano, one of and Yaquana Maya, may a ninja asset. I am the way, the ninja.
The Biamo company breaking yet, engineer, Etasi de Bia, Minitam, Etasi, the face program power train of power. Lad should be beer, Bassa train. You ever see a change train, my They change the train for new one. And that's I heard about this year. We are not going to go this year.
There are dangerous gaps between the coaches, and the links between the coaches are in poor conditions. There are indications of deterioration in and outside of the wheeled vehicles. That notwithstanding, as dangerous as it is, some people cling to the moving trains as they speed along the rails. The poor management of the country's rail system is negatively affecting road users. The congestion on the roads leaves commuters very frustrated and stranded, especially in the rush hours when they have to maneuver through the heavy vehicular traffic, spending several hours on the road in a bid to get to work or home. The focus of successive governments over the years have been primarily on building road networks, relegating the railway sector. Several roads and flyovers have been constructed by the various governments in a bid to deal with congestion on major roads, but the situation keeps worsening.
It's been difficult planning the route. You realize that we've not gotten into the rare Xmas period, but the traffic is heavy. Now it takes me close to about 1.5 hours to get to work.
You see, I have to set off from the house around 6:30, and it's past 8. I'm still at Kanishi, so you can wonder when I'll get to the office and when I can even start work.
All over the world, countries that have developed to the envy of third world countries have built strong transportation systems to ensure the smooth running of their economies. So what is the way forward? Looking at a transport means that will ease the burden of cost, aid in reducing congestion on the roads, keep passengers safe and comfortable, and aid in the development of the country in terms of export commodities. Rail transport is the best solution. Wanda Hagan, Joy News, Accra.
Interesting report there by Wanda Hagan. Sets you thinking what the railway system would have been like if it was properly working, and what would have been the traffic situation in Accra today.